Hello, friends! This week I decided to try something a little bit different. Wow, that sounded like something Rachel Maxi would say, don't you think? Anyway, today I want to share an experiment that really excited me, trying markers in a completely new way. I might have mentioned this in a past video. I attended an art school specializing in fashion, and during our drawing sessions, which focused heavily on fashion sketches, using markers was almost mandatory. We were required to have at least one skin tone and a few basic colors, but since copying markers were very expensive back then, my collection was pretty limited. The only other tool we were allowed to use were colored pencils. Over time, though, I developed a bit of a dislike for markers. I'm not sure if it was the way they taught us to use them, or the fact that I never achieved the result I wanted, but I gradually stopped using them. Then one day, while walking around Rome, I stumbled into a flying tiger and found some super affordable markers. Couldn't resist and bought them. And here we are. In this video, I'll mainly use those markers, although I've added a few from old scroll boxes and even one from my final high school project. Yes, I still have the light brown marker. Maybe someday I'll show you that project. Recently, I've seen a lot of artists experimenting with markers on Instagram and YouTube. One video that caught my attention was by Frafrog, an Italian YouTube creator. She explained how to create soft gradual blends with markers, and I decided to give it a shot. The technique is relatively simple. You start with the light base color, then add a mid-tone and go over it with the light color. Then add a deeper shadow and go over with the mid-tone, and so on. In her video, the artist layered many colors, but I noticed that the paper in my sketchbook wasn't ideal for markers. After 3 layers, it felt too saturated, and I was worried I might tear the paper if I added more color. Despite this limitation, I managed to achieve a satisfying gradient. When I finished my first lemon, it was a real aha moment. I couldn't believe no one taught us this technique back in art school. Initially, my plan was to stop at the lemons, but I was so thrilled with the result that I decided to stick with the theme. Since we're getting close to Christmas and lemons are in season here in Italy, I added a kiwi and a clementine that are very typical of Christmas here. For the line art, I wanted to experiment a little. I was inspired by many online examples and kept it simple for this page. In the future, I might focus more on line art itself, but for now I wanted to spotlight the colors. For the highlights, I use a fine-tipped white Uniposca pen. I've never used it this way before because I didn't like how it reacted with watercolors. However, after testing it on the back of the sketchbook, I found it worked perfectly for the highlights on the markers. This made me rethink how to use the Posca pen, and I'll definitely be incorporating it more in the future. At one point, I was satisfied with the drawings I had on the page, but it felt like something was still missing. So I added some colored sparkles, yellow around the lemons, green for the kiwi, and orange for the clementine. I outlined them with my ink pen, and honestly, they were the perfect finishing touches. I know this is the second time I've drawn food recently, but I wanted to start with something simple to learn this new technique. As I will continue to experiment, I'm realizing how much I enjoy the soft blending effects of the markers. It's something I've always tried to achieve with other materials, but the results were never quite as I wanted. Don't get me wrong, I love watercolors and the freedom they offer, but it's refreshing to switch things up now and then. Well, I think that's all for today. Thank you for joining me in this experiment, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and consider subscribing. And if you've made this far, comment with fruit. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with another project. Bye!